Hey everyone, today we're going to be doing some landscape photography with the 7artisans 10mm 2.8 fisheye lens. So I actually got this lens a little while ago to do some astrophotography because it's got quite a wide maximum aperture of 2.8 and obviously quite a wide angle of view because it's a fisheye lens. But for one reason or another, I haven't got around to doing the astrophotography yet. So in the meantime, I thought I'd come out today to Langsett Reservoir in the Peak District and do some landscape photography with it. So let's head on and see what we can find. So we all know that wide-angle lenses are quite common for landscape photography, particularly when you want to capture a big vista or fit a lot into your scene with some foreground interest. But fisheyes are not quite as common, mainly because of the intense barrel distortion that you get with them. But I thought I'd bring it out today and just test it out and see what I can get. I might get something really creative. So the lens itself comes in this quite nice case. I think it's faux leather. Probably not going to use it when I bring it out, but it is quite nice just to have and keep the lens in it when I'm not using it. And the lens itself is all metal, feels really sturdy and well made, but it is all manual, there's no autofocus in this. So all the dials are on the body. You've got the focusing dial which is closest to the camera body, and then in front of that you've got the aperture. So you have to set everything yourself, but the good thing with this fisheye lens is that the depth of field is crazy. There's so much depth of field with this. I've set it to 0.6 meters. And I'm not getting any problems with things being out of focus because there's just so much depth of field. So I'm just leaving it on that. I am leaving it on f8 mostly because it's a non-CPU lens, which means it doesn't send any information to the camera about what settings I'm using. So later on when I show you the photos, I won't actually know what aperture and things I was on. So I'm just going to leave it on f8 so that I know that they were all taken at that aperture. So liking it so far, we'll head on and see what else we can find. So like I said, this is a non-CPU data lens, which means that it doesn't send any information to the camera body about its aperture and focal length and things like that, which is fine. It's not going to affect the quality of the images. All the optics and things will work exactly as they should. But what it does mean is that to benefit from the in-body stabilization of the Z7, you need to tell the camera a few things about the lens in order to get the benefit from that. So what you have to do is go into the menu, down to the spanner, and then go through the list until you find non-CPU lens data. And if you click on that, you've got different memory banks in there for a number of different non-CPU lenses, and you can assign one of them with the details of your particular lens. So I'm using lens slot number 2, so lens number 2. I'm going to set the focal length at 8. For some reason you can't set it at 10, it's either 8 or 13. So 8's closest, so I'm going to set it at 8, and then the maximum aperture is 2.8. And then with that set, when you're using the lens, it can hopefully benefit from the in-body stabilization. It's good to include some foreground interest when you're using a fisheye, or any wide angle lens for that matter. You can really get in close and include something in your foreground which really takes up a large amount of the scene and gives some real interest to the shot that you're taking. I'm including some of these stones here in my shot right now, and the good thing about the 7artisans 10mm fisheye is that it's got a minimum focusing distance of just 17 centimeters, so you can get really close and get those foreground elements in focus as well as your background. One thing I have noticed is that you've got to be quite careful because it's got such a wide angle of view. I think it's something like 178 degrees. That if you've got the sun behind you, you sometimes get your shadow in the shot, particularly if you're looking slightly down. So you've got to bear that in mind and either try not to include that or think about removing it in post later on. Okay, so I've got some shots now. The light's been on and off today, it's been fairly overcast most of the time, but there has been some sunlight in between. But I think I've got some shots I can use, and on the back of the screen they look pretty good in regards to quality and sharpness. But I won't really know until I get them on the screen at home. You'll have seen them already throughout the video, but we'll talk a little bit more about the lens when I get back home. I'll see you there. So a great day today up at Langsett Reservoir. Really enjoyed it up there, and I know Otis did too. And it was great to use the 7artisans 10mm 2.8 fisheye lens. It performed really well, really enjoyed using it. Like I said before, all metal construction. I know that a lot of lenses are plastic these days, and you can get some really high quality plastic lenses, and there are benefits to that because it's much lighter, for example. But there really is something about an all-metal lens that just feels really high quality, and this is no exception. It really does feel well made. You've got the protruding kind of hood that's built into the lens. That just protects the bulbous front element, so that's quite nice. And it's really smooth. There's no clicking on the aperture ring. It's just smooth motion when you turn that ring, and the same with the focusing ring as well. So that's great. And I was quite pleased with the image quality of the shots that I took. The colours are quite vibrant, quite vivid. It's pretty sharp. There are some images where the foreground was a little bit soft, but that was because, as I said before, I wasn't focusing with this lens. Because the depth of field is just so massive, most of the time you can just leave it on around about 0.6 meters and you get everything in focus from close up to the lens all the way to infinity. But there are just one or two shots where the foreground subject is a little bit soft. And if I'd have taken a bit more time with the Z7, I could have really zoomed in with the magnifying glass functions on the back. And you can do that in the viewfinder as well, and really zoom in and fine-tune that focus. But it's nice to know that you don't have to do that as well, particularly if you were doing something like street photography with this lens. It's good to know that you can just set it and click away and you're probably going to get some usable shots out of it. So all around, I really like using this lens and I do definitely recommend it. And one of the best things about it is the price. Because it's a non-electronic lens, that means that it's much cheaper to manufacture. And you can pick these up in the UK for around about £250. And I think it's a similar figure in dollars as well. So a bit of a bargain for a Z system lens. And it's good to see third-party lenses coming into the Z lineup, because that's something that's really been missing. I know it's only a manual focus lens, but hopefully we get more third-party lenses and ones that will autofocus as well. So that's about it for this video. Massive thanks for watching, everyone. I really do appreciate you tuning in and watching each week. If you're not already subscribed and you'd like to do so, you can click down there on the big red button or over here on my face, and that way you'll keep up to date with everything I'm doing each and every week. There's a new video every Sunday morning, 10 AM UK time. Next week I really want to do some wildlife or birds or animals in general, so I hope you'll join me for that one. But until then, thanks a lot everyone, and bye for now.